want to say I'm privileged. I'm privileged. So peace, peace. How's everything going with you?
Could be words.
Right. No doubt, no doubt. So, we spoke briefly during the week and had a conversation. We entitled this "The Sign of the Times." So, what do you have for the people? I know a lot of the people already know you, so you can give an introduction on who you are. But what do you say for like the current condition of Black people? Like, what exactly is going on right now? From an elder's perspective, and what do we need to do to kind of, get our minds liberated and ultimately our bodies? The microphone is yours.
We have to know that whatever differences we have between ourselves amongst the family are incidental to the larger picture, that we are essentially crabs in a barrel. We know who's who in the community. Each one of us are playing a part, whether it's for the community or against it. If we can identify those who are working against the interests of us as a collective, then we isolate them. And if we recognize those who have been working for the community, then we support them. And we do so with diligence. And if there are different with each other and our people, we work our differences out so that our commonality and our unity will show when we do take the stage. So as an elder, I would think that we should be a lot more unified in our common goals. That is, to deal with the oppressor no matter what. I don't care what you call yourself, Hebrew Israelite, Moor, Muslim, Christian, Kemetic. You're walking down the street, you're a so-called black man. And all of that and everything that we have as differences amongst ourselves should be essentially nullified. I guess Shaka Zulu had the same idea. His was a little bit more straightforward in his unification process of the Zulu nation to fight the common enemy, but I think that we're a little bit more intellectually advanced to be able to get the chiefs of each of the factions coming together, even the chiefs amongst all the diverse Moors, the chiefs amongst all the diverse Hebrew Israelites, the diverse Christians, the diverse Muslims. I see us as tribally separate into our own little fiefdoms, and we feel that anything threatening our own perception of ourselves is somehow the enemy, even though they look like us and are essentially tabulated and seen in the same crosshairs by our common enemy as the enemy. So the state of our people today, disunity. There are changes on the horizon. There are things that are going to bring us together despite ourselves. But it would be nice to know that we are doing this voluntarily rather than involuntarily, because things are going to start getting very testy in this. Then we are going to essentially be destroyed separately, but be destroyed nonetheless. So, as an elder, I don't see unity. I see a commonality based upon self-gain. I see a commonality against everybody looking for 15 minutes of fame on the YouTube platforms. And I see things that do not show me as an elder that all the work of bringing higher consciousness to the community is actually working. Maybe I'm not out there enough. Maybe there are others that see more than I see nowadays. But what I get as a blowback and feedback, I'm not happy with what I'm seeing. I see more contention than I am actually
Yeah,
going
no
to
doubt.
speak to those. There are brothers out there and sisters out there calling for unity, and I praise their efforts, and I see their efforts, and I support their efforts. The only thing we don't have is the plan, the common thread that will bind us together, and that's coming. That's coming very soon. Trust me, it's right over the horizon. There are things happening in the back offices and behind the curtains of this staged show we call the United States of America. There are things happening behind the curtain right now where it's going to be a drastic change when that curtain reopens. And we're going to see a difference. And those who are not ready.
Yeah, I was looking at your documentary. You may not, I mean, you did a lot of documentaries, but one of my favorite ones was it's The Seat of Satan, The Throne of Rome. You remember that presentation you did?
The Seat of Satan and the Throne of Rome. They're talking about the aristocracy of evil.
Right, exactly. And one of the things you said was that, you can't waste your time trying to speak to people that's not on the frequency. Yeah, that's pretty much, kind of like the note I'm on. It's like, at a certain point, people that's not really on the same page, and I guess everybody got their own difference in opinion and how they operate, and I don't really try not to get into an ideological thing with the different, people such as the Hebrews and the Moors. I think that we kind of need to kind of like, unify on a, like you said, on a common goal. And I agree that, even what you was presenting in that documentary, you was breaking down 9/11, and I think, that whole era, that whole 9/11 era, because I think that 9/11 era ended when they supposedly, I think it was staged, but when they supposedly got Bin Laden, so they captured Bin Laden. So now we're going into a whole ISIS era now. And you kind of like basically laid out, in that documentary, in that presentation, what the aristocracy of evil is trying to do and what they're going to try to implement. And we kind of seen it play out over the years. So it's like, I guess one of the things that would, make us unify is, that aristocracy, imposing even more oppression on us. I think that a lot of us is kind of, in the conscious community, we got a little comfortable living in America. You know what I'm saying? We got comfortable with the different privileges that we do have in America. And we're not really for, like a form of unification, because obviously if it's a unification, then that's going to be a threat to national security. And I think that what they're trying to push out there now is going to like kind of further impose, forms of oppression, as we see with the police and how they're trying to militarize America, and also with the gentrification that is going on in just about every major city on the East Coast. So it's like, they obviously they are orchestrating certain plans that you pretty much laid out. So if you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, at the time I was reporting, I guess, these particular documentaries, as you call them, came out. I was seeing to that point what the trends of the time, from the time I was looking at it, would lead to. But as I stand here and I am looking at the event horizon of the next 10 years, I see all of what you're saying as a desperate effort by those who oppress us to actually maintain power that they no longer have. There are things happening on this planet right now that are going to be favoring the indigenous man. I can say that, although there are not lots of things I can say, but I can. There has been a mandate that has been given to all the leaders of this planet that they are now following. I can say, though I cannot say, that we are in a preparation mode for a drastic shift in what we call the power structures of this planet. The reason why the Pope is walking around at this time is because the Vatican is now bankrupt. There is no more money in the bank of the Vatican. Run right now. There are things that are happening that look as if the beast is becoming stronger, but just as any wounded beast is more dangerous right before it dies, we are looking at that particular outburst of energy at this time. So, yes, there are people who want to instigate a process or to interfere with a process of realignment, of restitution to the indigenous people. And I'm not talking about the Native Americans with the long, straight black hair. Those are not the indigenous people of this particular territory. I'm talking about the restitution of the original human, as science has already said and proven, that we didn't come from Africa, that we're not all from Africa, that we essentially, as I've said in those documentaries like Hidden Colors, we've been all over this planet. And there are evidences of us below the oceans as well as above it and in the ground. So there has been a drastic change right now on the planetary level, and we are seeing that change happen, and it's going to happen very quickly. The banking institutions are now going to collapse. We are no longer on the Federal Reserve dollar. The Federal Reserve has been shut down. That dollar, the IRS is no more. All of these things are happening very rapidly. Of course, because of our belief in the system, just like our belief in Christianity and the church, the people's belief in the fiat system is going to give it the semblance of legitimacy and that it's still alive. And we are going to go along till such time as things collapse, and that sudden jolt of realization is going to take place, where you're going to see food and different types of false flags. May even be a flooding of the West Coast, of the East Coast, things of that nature. So time will show.
Yeah, that's very interesting what you just said, because when you were saying what you just said, it reminded me of what it say in the book of Revelations. You know, when they say like the beast was wounded, and then his wound was supposedly being healed, and they kind of marveled at the beast. They marveled at the beast, like saying basically, how the heel was wounded, and they kind of in many ways began to worship the beast. So you saying that the fact that people still believe in the system is what's keeping it going.
Indeed. Isn't that what Christianity is based on?
Yeah, pretty much.
Don't you know that we have been, for the last 700 years, 3 St. Peter's Trust, which has just been shut down.
Now, I'm sorry, your phone kind of was breaking up. You said St. Peter's Trust?
Yes, we have been operating for the last 750 years or so under St. Peter's Trust, which has been run by the Vatican. That trust now has been subsumed. So the 501c3...
Now, St. Peter, okay. What is St. Peter's Trust? I'm not really aware of what that is exactly.
St. Peter's Trust is a trust that actually all things, the entire United States government, the FBI, CIA, all of them has been operating through that and another trust that came up under that. Different trusts are what run this country. And the St. Peter's Trust was the overtrust that the Queen and everyone else dealt in. So what you're looking at, essentially, is that the trust itself now has been shut down, that there's no longer a money or financial backing to the so-called New World Order. And you're going to see evidence of that. That's why you started seeing all the different people. You have the Speaker of the House resigning. All of the people are resigning. They're leaving the government. And they are.
Right.
So what you're looking at essentially is the changeover, very quietly, mind you. Of course, while all the bells and whistles and the CNN nonsense is being given to the people, the sheeple are looking at that. The ones who are brain dead are looking at the news to really get the truth, when that's not the truth. Much more is happening behind the scenes.
Right. Yeah, that's very interesting. Because I know I seen with the Speaker of the House, and I didn't really, two and two together, and I was recognizing how, I know in Philadelphia, like it was like the government shut down. I didn't even know like exactly what that meant, and we see that the public schools are shutting down, and like so it's like it's definitely something going on. I really couldn't put my finger on it totally, but it's like everything is pretty much being shut down in America.
Well, the trust itself now that ran America was not America. It was the United States Corporation that ran the territories that were subsumed by that corporate interest. So right now, the corporation called the United States of America no longer has the backing. It no longer has the ability to operate. Now everything is it'll bring us back under a valued system. Everybody in there may find that very quietly that the monies they do have in the bank based upon the fiat system will substantially be less. So if you have, say, $10,000 in your account, you may end up with only $6,000. But the $6,000 would be far more valuable. The $6,000 would be far more valuable than the $10,000 you had in fiat dollars.
So, I mean, we see like, I guess what you're alluding to, but like what exactly is gonna like take place, for this transition to happen? I'm pretty sure that it ain't, the aristocracy, as what you call it. They're not just gonna just say, okay, hand over the power. It's going, what is going to be like? I guess you get.
No, you're right. They will be killed either, or they will be removed by forces, military forces. They will be locked up. Those camps that we see, FEMA and all the rest of them, are not for the people. So let's understand the things that's happening right now that we've been told. And, of course, because he thinks he really belongs here. He believes that he is American. He believes, again, this is all because of the paperwork that has given him that privilege, that white privilege, that he believes that somehow, because he was born on this territory, that he is of this territory. But there's going to be a rude awakening, and you're going to see it, very violent reactions by those who believe in the American nightmare that is their dream, our nightmare. But as I said, that the St. Peter's Trust now is no longer valid. It no longer. The City of London, the Vatican, and the Washington, D.C., all corporate structures that have been running the planet into the ground, all of them have to stop and reverse engines. They're no longer valid. If you have a trade, if you know how to do something, the rebuilding process is going to begin, and it's going to begin with people who are actually going to start doing grassroots things, teaching our own children. Why do you think that at least 67% of black people are now trying to get into homeschooling? We have a homeschool network, and we are teaching children homeschooling here through our University of Communication Sciences. We have a and we teach children 6 years of age and up. We've been doing that for the last 10 years. A lot of people say, well, I'm so sick and tired of the conscious community talking. But a lot of these people are either stupid or they don't want to take the time to see what is really happening. Remember, you played at the beginning. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is happening. Most people want it to look a certain way, and if it doesn't, they think it's not happening. Well, we've been doing the revolution for the last 40 years. We've been uplifting our people and helping our people to fight this beast, to strengthen their resolve, to uplift and to bring a higher consciousness. And if that's not anything, and if that's not just talking, and those who actually are castigating and actually talking down to the so-called conscious community that Bobby, Dr. Delbert, and myself had a hand in helping to build, then they need to shut up and open their eyes instead of dealing with their own ego tripping. We have been working towards the betterment of our people for a very long time, and we do have the proof to show it. I have 35 godchildren from women helping women and their families and their brothers and sisters to have children when doctors told them they couldn't. Yes, beds. This is quietly being done outside of the camera, outside of me standing on soapboxes and beating my chest. The conscious community isn't about going out and telling you everything we do. We don't like rappers and start talking about the grills that we got and all this kind of nonsense. And I want those who feel that we ain't doing anything to not compare us to some kind of gang or some kind of rap group trying to have some kind of beef with another rap group to show you how big our you-know-whats are. We don't work like that. The conscious community works in the dark. We are the dark matter think tank. And so I can talk about all the children that have been homeschooled, all of the brothers and sisters uplifted them, all the people that have degrees in physics, in all kinds of psychology, all of the mathematicians, people from colleges like Stanford University and MIT coming to our school to find out how to be true human beings. Oh, yes, we've been doing a lot of work. So all the people out there talking down to the conscious community because we have a few fools that have taken up and started cutting and pasting some of the materials of the elders and making people believe that they know what they're talking about, they need to stop for a moment and go and talk to the people who are really doing work.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think that I was privy enough to access to, work, your work, my DVD consists mostly of Bobby Hemmett, Phil Valentine. And, I have a few double blares as well. But, I think that, a lot of people is coming into the conscious community, a new wave of the youth is coming in, and they don't really have access to, your works, if they're not really, privy to, punching it up on YouTube or, because, the new wave of consciousness is, all about, like, debating and things of that nature. And it's kind of like, people, a lot of the younger, because I'm 35, I'm saying, like, people that's coming in here that's, like, in their 20s, they're not really seeing that, you know what I'm saying? They came into consciousness probably, with, people like Steady being, pushed out there and, like, so these are the people that they more, familiar with. So it's like, I guess it's like a difference in, as a result, it's a difference in, the mentality and, how we, express ourselves as a result. But, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Definitely, I understand where you're coming from. I think that what I've seen, too, that I'm beginning to see within the conscious community is really an attack on, like, metaphysics. People, like, kind of like is comparing the metaphysics to Christianity in a lot of ways. So, I mean,
because that's because, brother, I didn't mean to interrupt you. That's because people have religified it. People think they want to claim the tenets that make up metaphysics. They want to own it. They want to be attributed or attributable to it. They want people to think it's theirs. Of knowledge, and they're saying it, they think they're saying it for the first time. Of course. And of course, if there's a bitter rivalry and that type of adversarial energy has been created in the conscious community so that we got a kind of Don King atmosphere, the fight of the century kind of nonsense that is woven up around this thing, yeah, people are going to come in believing that that's what the conscious community is about. And it's not. I didn't leave New York with that particular type of atmosphere around the conscious community. Conscious community was something very different when it was actually being nurtured into what it became before it was perverted. Now, I'm not saying that those who are in the conscious community all putting it down. Don't listen, there's red and blue pill. There's Black Dot, there's Brother Rich. There's a lot of young brothers that are out there that are actually doing the work. They're forwarding the work of consciousness. They're not into all this debating and battling out of wits. That's not what it's about. That I warned that would do nothing but separate us, and it has. And so there are people now seeing the folly of that type of atmosphere. And they're trying to bring us back together again, which I commend highly. But as far as anything else is concerned, the elders that I know about were definitely against that. And we'll keep on teaching the right way until, the people who understand that that's not going to work, bring us together, they'll come around as well. And again, like I said, I don't want to get too deeply involved in that. I don't want to get too bogged down in that just one subject. I know there are other subjects that you would like to talk about before we part. But this is a very important thing, and I want people listening to this particular broadcast to understand and understand that I'm not very tolerant of the way that the conscious, quote unquote, community is being dealt with, and of course, I've pulled myself out of that particular arena for a while because metaphysics is not just about you bantering about and talking about high eclectic things and sounding all fabulous and I got all this great information to give you. That's not what this is. We teach here what we call practical metaphysics, applicable metaphysics. We talk about changing your mind and how to apply that to bettering yourself in the world as well as within. So there's no just talking about how well, the world works and astrology and all that type of nonsense. It's not just hypothetics. It's about applicable metaphysics. And it's not just metaphysics, it's chemetaphysics.
Right. Phil Valentine in the building. Yeah, the author of The Wounded Womb. I remember when you was on the Sally Jesse Raphael, I think it was. You was in the audience, and the lady was up there, and they was having like I think it was Sherazade Ali was on there, and you was in the audience, and then then she intentionally had this crazy lady up there just there to say some ignorant stuff to Sherazade Ali, and you raised your hand, and what you said kind of silenced the crowd. But Sally, she didn't want it to go that way. She kind of still wanted the hype. So she just kind of like, cut you off and then try to go to somebody else like real quick. You know what I mean? Because what you said was real, like, yo, this is a circus. Look at this, like, y'all, this is what y'all want. Like, yo, this is like a circus. I think that in many ways, in some aspects of going on in the conscious community, people kind of want the circus aspect for like entertainment value. You know what I'm saying? So it's you go, brother.
Yeah, indeed. And like I said, it's a lot more than that. A lot of brothers and sisters out there in the so-called conscious community that are doing exceptional work. And again, it became the conscious community, which was actually the underground metaphysical community that we had created in New York. And what Bobby did in Kareem and did out there in California. They're in different branches. There were a lot of us doing that became known, because at the time there was nobody filming it. It was because of a sister by the name of Hatshepsut. She said, let's film what you do at the Gathering of the Masters, which we started in 1989. In 1989, she would bring her cameras, and then that's when we introduced Bobby into New York. And once that got filmed, it began to spread all over the East Coast, then over the West Coast. Before you know it, went all around the world. So we were essentially teaching our own. We were the next to come up. Our masters were Dr. Clark, Dr. Ben Sertima, Kwame Ture. These were our master teachers. But they taught us about the history. We taught now the mystery. There's a difference. That was his story that we were trying to get our own story from. But I went to our masters and we asked them, well, what about us? What were we? What was the mindset of our people that went into building pyramids? So that's when I said, well, it's time for us to deal with my story. So if you put the word my and story together, you get mystery. So it was for us now to deal not only with the history, but with the mystery. So that's when the conscious community, from that end, from that spiritual perspective, the metaphysical perspective, was born. Yes, hello?
Oh, yeah. Your phone kind of went out for a second. Yeah, another one my favorite lectures of yours is the Lockdown USA. You remember that one?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So I think it kind of took me by surprise when you was kind of breaking down, what we just elaborating on, with the Federal Reserve and how the money is basically, being controlled by outside entities that is not part of the United States. And how, the gold standard has been taken away from the dollar. All those things, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't know that.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
Yeah, I was saying that, did you hear me?
Now I can hear you, yes.
Yeah, I was saying that a lot of people are unaware of the knowledge you was breaking down on that documentary of how, the money, there was no value in the dollar, and that the gold standard has been taken away, and that our basically the finances being controlled by outside entities that is really not a part of the United States, and that they are systematically trying to shut down the U.S. as what we see today. It's almost prophetic in what you was breaking down. So, if you could remember, what I'm saying, you could just elaborate on that for the people.
Yeah. I remember a part of that, but that particular lecture covered money grounds, particularly the education system. As far as the fiat system, that's one of our sisters who is now with the ancestors, Sister Myra L. Yeah. She's passed on to the ancestors now. And she was dropping some science around the UCC and how to deal in that system. But that UCC system was based in, again, the St. Peter's Trust, which was the 501c3, which, again, has to do, of course, with a religious trust. But now everything is coming religious trust, but not the same as it was under the UCC. Under the 501c3, because what the 501c4 meant against the 501c3, the 50111, and so forth, 501c10, and the rest of these, all of these having to do with religious institutions. The new trust that the world is going to be functioning under, from what I understand, is the Melchizedek Trust. And from that point now, we are going to be under a whole new system of benevolence, not one dealing with the intercatera of the Pope and the orders that were initiated and instituted from the church to conquer the lands in the name of Christianity and to kill those who do not. Saracen, which of course are the Moors, and anyone who had color. All of that is now coming to an end, and it's coming to an end based upon people who are of white skin, who have all the power, and know that they too do not have the kind of power on this planet that will be able to sustain them. Their nature will not be able to sustain them because they are by nature warlike, barbaric, and no matter how sophisticated they become technologically or how technologically proficient they become, their nature has not changed. So until they the people of melanin hue who have a direct access to the dark matter think tank and to the dark matter consciousness, those who can temper human spirituality with human ingenuity and bring those two together and spiritualize our technology. Right now, technology is running wild. The technology has a mind of its own, and it has now become the, the order giver, because it tends to force those who are working in technology to perfect it to such a stage that it's become conscious now. The human, the white man, is now using his own engrams and putting them into computers so that he may then transpose himself so that that would be his own form. He cannot ascend the way black people have the ability to ascend outside of the body. He's trapped because of his lack of melanin. And he will tell you that I'm racist for saying that, but it's the truth. He cannot transcend out of it, so that's why he has to put on an exoskeleton. He has to put on all these technologies. He has to wire himself up to a battery, and that would be his technology to agitate his body so that it would give him the same sensations that melanin gives to us.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Now, I want to, a whole lot of questions came to my head when you were breaking that down, and elaborate on that lockdown USA, and you were saying like how the educational system was like a German invention. So,
it is. The present one is, not the one before 1800s was not. It was an independent system where everybody, even the so-called slaves at this time, had a higher IQ than most of the Einsteins that are actually operating out here now. The children were 10 times or 100 times more well educated by the time they hit the 8th grade than anyone coming out of PhD college at this time. Yes, the education system was done.
I remember in the documentary. I think what grade test that was, like an 8th grade exam that you had up there, and
yes.
I couldn't answer not one of those questions. I'm looking at the questions like I couldn't answer not one of those questions. And mind you, I got a bachelor's degree from Temple University. And I'm looking at them questions like, man, I can't answer none of them questions up there. So it was
Indeed.
like, yeah, that was deep. It definitely was deep. But go ahead, Gary. I'm sorry for cutting you off. Go ahead.
Well, the fact of the matter is that we essentially now have been dumbed down. The system was put into place in order to dumb down the population so that they become more compliant consumer drones and worker drones for the new industrial complex that was being built here in the United States. It over here in order for it to be able to take the resources of peoples around the world. So the United States was being built up industrially to become the weapons maker and the military arm of the so-called Illuminati New World Order. And what happened is, because the United States had such a very high intelligence quota, since everybody was in competition with one another, the education system was an independent system where each person who created a school wanted to create such excellence that they would have a reputation that people wanted to come to that school. Well, Rockefeller, Carnegie, the Peabodys, the Rothschilds, and the rest of them saw that as a threat are dangerous to the New World Order. So they had to introduce the new system, a three-tiered system called the Prussian system, which the top 1% was to learn how to solve problems. The next 4% would then be the managers, the ones who they teach how to administrate what the 1% would want to have happen. The bottom 95% would then be the workers. And the top 4% and 1% would run the bottom 95. And they created a three-tiered system in the education system so that we would crank out people who would be dealing with McDonald's burgers, who would be workers in a Walmart and so forth. And Walmart would go to, say, a specific city.
Mm-hmm.
What happened is Walmart would then go to all the city schools and get the governor and the education system to begin changing the curriculum in all of the grammar schools and high schools so that the people who come out of those schools would then fit the jobs for the Walmarts that would be built in their neighborhood.
Peace to you, Dr. Valentine. This is Sister Renee coming into the conversation, but I heard you talking about the dumbing down of society. Do you know anything in reference to, like, the fluoride and things in the water and that being used as a means to dumb us down as well?
Yes, I was one of the people who actually were alerting the people back in the early 1990s about the fluoride in the water and what it did to the pineal gland and how it degenerated the pineal gland. And not only that, it degenerated the thyroid glands as well, which is why you see a lot of our sisters having problems with the thyroid. The fluoride essentially is the byproduct of steelmaking and aluminum. It is aluminum byproduct. And they didn't know what to do with it back in the early 1930s. So what they did, and since they said that they both sounded alike and they still had the same type of molecular structure, they said, well, why the hell don't we just put it in the water? And that's what they did. But they didn't tell the people that the same fluoride that they were using was used in the concentration camps and put into the water of the people in the concentration camps to keep them docile and to be more compliant to orders given to them.
Wow. For those who may not be very familiar, we don't have to get really deep into it, but when you talked about the pineal gland, can you talk a little bit about, as far as within our community, but the importance of the pineal gland?
Well, the pineal gland regulates the hormonal, the perception of bodily changes. It is where all of the hormones are actually structured and given their orders. And then from there, the pituitary then implements them to the various areas where their function is to be carried out. The pineal, of course, is the what they talked about in the Bible as the Ark of the Covenant. It is the actual, the monstrance, the thing that you carry. The Ark of the Covenant is the rainbow that appears over the top of the pineal. The covenant is the promise of redemption to let you know that you can traverse or to go past the illusion of what you see as your physical reality and to actually get the area code of God and speak directly to the universe and to those who are actually sending out broadcasts via spiritual light waves. But the pineal gland, or what we call the epiphysis dorsi in technical terms, is the melanin. It is what melanin, or what we call the tower of Rex, when it is reaching out to speak to the Creator.
Wow. And listening to some of the conversation, I heard you mention a little ways back about speaking about the conscious community, and you were saying that, you know, we're not rappers like rappers. Could you tell us a little bit about how you feel rap music or hip-hop has affected our community, and if you feel it's being used as a weapon against us? Could you, expound on that?
Well, I know the hip-hop community is the viable community. That is the real messengers. Those are the rap community is a bastard child. It is a cancer that has grown based upon hip-hop being exposed to adverse radiation from those who would take those sound and light waves that hip-hop actually created and use them as a weapon. So it was necessary to make sure that hip-hop, which was the healing bomb, which was the message carrier, that it would become something poisonous, or that the thing that it grew, or the cancer that it grew, would have more influence over the minds of our younger generation. Doctors do. They will then hype the cancer as something more important than the patient. And so you pay more attention to the cancer than to the person whose cancer is growing on. And so that's what rap became. Rap became the cancer that grew on hip-hop. And, of course, we looking at God Hop and all the rest of these brothers and sisters who are out there really doing it, and I'm so proud of them for keeping that culture alive and putting out righteous information. I'm not talking, there's a lot of people doing that stuff. And, young people like yourselves, you all still are in that stage for reproductive, That's what all that, innuendo for sex and all that. I know what that is. I was there. So, you dress up, you want to look kind of alluring, you want to look, kind of sexy and stuff. That's because you're still of reproductive age, So, yeah, that's good. For me, the sisters just need to be a little more seductive rather than just, showing me her V. I don't want to see that. I know what it looks like. It doesn't make it. Show me what it doesn't look like. When you do something like that. But again, like I said, coming back to what hip hop is versus what the kids call it trip hop and all the rest of these things, and what it is that the people who the lockdown, they know what to feed and what to starve. So they knew to feed rap, and they knew that if they fed rap, that somehow they thought they were going to starve hip-hop. But, of course, after a while, as hip-hop or people who are in rap grow to see the destructiveness of that behavioral pattern and what it is that it was actually selling, we have more converts from rap into hip-hop now. So it's actually self-destructing because now it's become so stupid that the people doing rap don't even rap anymore. They just mumble on there and don't say a goddamn thing anymore. So essentially they never said anything. Now you see what I'm saying. But now you see the brothers and sisters hitting on the hip-hop tip, and they're coming out with the ballistics, with the shown of conscious ballistics. Hey, it's going to be a matter of time. And those who are keeping it down or holding it down, they're going to be rewarded.
Wow, I have so many things I want to ask you about, but I do want to ask you, and you kind of talked about women, black women, or what you were just kind of saying about being seductive or different things, how we present ourselves. Could you tell me what you believe the state of the black woman is right now? And can you tell me where you see the black woman transitioning moving forward?
She is about to ascend and reclaim her throne if I have anything to do with it. My book, The Wounded Womb, if you read the very ending of it, actually the Wounded Womb is a cry to our sisters to regain that throne that you abdicated. And we are seeing less and less of the bitch and more of the empress. That she has to step out there now. She doesn't have to subsume and take over the role of the male, because she has a role just like he does. And if she's cursed, or at least hypnotized by white feminism to think that she's equal to him and he is equal to her, then she is definitely going to self-destruct or be by herself in the long run. And what is going to happen is, if we don't come back and understand nature's compatibility energies rather than conflicting energies and competitive energies, we have to stop that now. We are seeing, and if it isn't all about sex now, I told it in my book back in 1992, I said they're going to be putting football pads on women, and everybody's going to want to see that. They're going to put boxing gloves on women, and they're going to want to see women bloodying themselves. And now what kind of society do we have when we're looking at women beating the hell out of one another? We've become just as sick. So this is what I'm saying to you. Our sisters now are craving to be more at home. They understand the value of what that institution really was that they abdicated in order to come out for a career. And I've told brothers and sisters that the etymology of the word career is career, and where that came from, you'll understand why it is that we are in this so-called competitive system of today, when women are now finding themselves in bars, and it becomes a sick kind of ritual to be, to look for companionship while you're ruling over and gaining high. Yeah, and then when I start speaking about the fact that women are achieving all these CEO levels, I don't mean anything. It's been done. Men have achieved CEO levels. That's not changing anything. It's just simply keeping the institution that created this nonsense in place. Absolutely. So now women are, boasting of achievements in men's arenas of activity, which is not an achievement. It's like me achieving to be a mother,
Right. Could you give us the etymology?
How am I achieving? The etymology of the word combat, career, you have to look at it. Look at the epistemology and the etymology. Career means cur, which means if you're dealing with, I'd have to go back into my mindset where I saw that. Look up the etymology of the word career. Look up the Latin, look up the Old English, look up the Old Celtic, and you will see it all fall back into what combat. It's all about combat. It's all about contentiousness. It's all about fighting. It's all about careening and careering. These words themselves all have a foundation in to have a career means that you have to be better or to fight someone for that spot and show that you are better at that spot than that other person. That's something that men do. Men are supposed to be the ones battling with one another to be, better for their family, not women. Women are not supposed to come home with that mentality. They don't even have a space in their mind for children when they have to deal with that situation. It's madness.
Let me give a vacation. You are listening to In the Black Radio right now. We have the Honorable Elder Dr. Phil Valentine with us, breaking down a lot of great information. We will be taking questions a little bit later. And let me give the number as well. If you would like to call in, 619-924-0694. 619-924-0694. You do have a question, press 1. Okay, I want to shift a little bit. I have, I'm familiar with a lot of your information you've given as far as homosexuality. And that's a topic that I personally deal with a lot, and the fact that I was at one time working on a documentary about it as far as the impact of homosexuality on the Black community, which I may continue to pursue. But I wanted you to kind of break that down to us, because we have some people within the conscious community who feel that homosexuality is not really an issue. We don't really need to necessarily address it, not just in the conscious community, but in the Black community at large. And some people also feel that you can be homosexual and conscious. And could you, kind of build on that and give us some information about it?
Well, consciousness does not have to deal with a gender. I mean, you could be conscious and homosexual too. But your behavioral patterns, if you are conscious and you're using it towards the logical conclusion of certain actions and certain tendencies, and right, rather than what it is in the short run. See, we are too busy looking at it for the now. What is homosexuality now? What is it that these two people feel about each other now? Well, that's cool. If you want to be homosexual, then that's fine. But do not try to offload it as a normalcy within the human condition when, for all intents and purposes, when logically seen, that it is an end in itself, that two homosexual people living together are not productive. They do not have a future. They are not thinking about a future. And if they are thinking about a future, it's pretty much self-centered. Homosexuals know that they do not procreate. And if they do procreate, they're going to procreate through some kind of adverse technology that science is trying to build in order to legitimize that particular state of being. So homosexuals will always support all kinds of, perverse forms of technologies that will help them to be quote-unquote parents. They'll either adopt or they'll have somebody be surrogate, or they'll even have the embryo implanted in one of the males or in the female. And they're going to essentially deal with something that is not what it is that is synergistic. It's not the male and the female coming together and in that harmony bringing forth life. It's not that.
Right.
It's the word alternative. It is not. It is altering what is native to nature. So if you are dealing with homosexuality, you're dealing with a terminal condition. You're dealing with a temporal condition that does not have a continuity or a future. So homosexuals can't talk about a future. The only people making homosexuals are heterosexuals. So what we have to look at is that the heterosexuals, something that's going on in the genome or is being artificially manipulated in the human genome to create homosexuals, or if there is ways to predispose homosexual behavior by interfering with the genome and interfering with the fetal development. You make sure that becomes a obvious thing. Well, what you do is you make sure that the outside environment is supportive of it. So what you do is you predispose the embryo and the child to homosexual tendencies by affecting the womb and the mother in such a way that we have a specific type of disease that essentially is created within the mother's womb. And that type of disease then now predisposes the child. So how do you make sure that that thing now becomes a more predominant behavioral pattern? Well, you go into the schools, you go into the first and second grade, and you have these homosexuals teaching these children that the boy The girls can dress up as firemen and football players, and then you then now nurture what may be a latent perversion within that genome. And it's being done very subtly. And most people are not looking at it that way. They'll call me homophobic, and I don't know what the hell that means, because I'm not homosexual, which is stupid. That's just their words that have been given to them. These words like homophobic and the other ones that the feminists use, like misogynist and chauvinist. These are words, artificial words created to make you feel bad about your own natural feelings of adversity against something that is perverse. So I don't care about you hating. I'm not hating anybody. What I dislike and what I will fight against is you trying to legislate how I should feel and how I should react. And you try to change my natural aversion to something, the terminal types of mentality that leads to the end or extinction of a human species. So for me to now say that homosexuality is normal means that I must be now practicing a form of genocide. And that's what it is. Absolutely. The normalization of homosexuality is a kind of benign form of what I call passive-aggressive genocide.
Absolutely. Do you think, Dr. Valentine, that there is an increase in homosexuality in the Black community? And if there is, why? Why do you believe?
Well, many factors. The food that we are being given, that can only be sold and bought in our own communities. The very fact that our children are eating certain types of foods, they're putting certain types of foods to make sure that the people who are the greatest threats are deprived of the greatest amounts of resources. Absolutely. And so if you have 75 to 80% of our Black community being the family being run by women, our young boys are looking at women dressing up, twerking, and doing all these things. And, of course, that is their role model. That's their imprinting. They're imprinting their mother.
Absolutely.
So it's very easy for the boys to see that kind of nonsense going on. And it's very difficult. And then when they have to go to the opposite end to prove their manhood, and they got to do Title IX, which was actually passed back in the 1990s, which then actually 70s. I mean, it might have been in the 70s. I'm sorry, not to quote me, but look for Title IX. Title IX equalized sports in all areas of the education system. Now, sports, especially for young men, were what was used to formulate manhood training. You learn to take orders. You learn to work together. You learn to bang heads. I remember banging heads when I was playing ball because that's what men do. Men like to bang heads. Men do that. That's how you develop testosterone. And so what happened then is when the feminists said, we have to equalize it in sports as the same amount of boys, what that did was show that they were trying to subvert the very thing that was in place societally-wise that helped boys to be developed into men. So what they did now, after about 10 or 20 years, they found out that girls weren't really interested in that much sports. So now boys were sacrificed, and then they turned what they called cheerleading into a sport. So now cheerleading was now seen at the same pace as football, basketball, baseball, and so forth. Of course, great discipline into cheerleading. They actually just expanded the sport, but that's not a sport.
Right.
Women and the men are together doing that, and most of the men that they're doing that are gay. So what we're looking at essentially, I mean, they really knew what to do to undermine who you had to destroy. And remember that when we're talking about undermining and destroying society, you must destroy what is called the first authority, what they call the primary authority. The primary authority in all societies, I don't care what they talk about, that nonsense about matriarchy in Africa, it never happened. That's another myth. Everybody's talking about matriarchal system. No, the one who pushed the matriarch mother is the male. We are the ones that ascended. There's no way that a woman is going to rule over a bunch of men. given based upon the fact that the boys or the men were actually being the backbone, and we respected the mother principle to the point where we would definitely protect her. So we understand that situation now and understand it then. And there was no matriarchy or patriarchy. That is a European mindset dealing with division. So when we're dealing with an African mindset, or at least an indigenous mindset, we're dealing with leadership qualities. And the leadership qualities that men were developed as, from the time they were 7 years of age, they were removed from their mothers. And from that point on, they were raised by their fathers, because they had to be raised to become men and to understand their place in society. And when they took the sports, which was a form of a rites of passage, out of the hands of the men, now those boys who did not have the ability to take that testosterone that was coursing through their veins, it's either you want to jump a woman or you want to jump and beat up one another. That was then regulated by men who could understand that. So what they did was to take that away, and then now what would happen is a society that would have nurtured its young into the society, the young now felt abandoned, and that society that they created they call gangs. So the young men did go out and create a society. They created a society of their own.
Okay. And then being in a gang became another rite of passage.
Rites of passage, because why? You had leadership, you had economy, you had authority, you had all the things that men do in a society, but they were not allowed to do in their own society.
Okay. Just to, I guess, wrap that part of it up, what do you think is a solution or the way that we should handle the impact of homosexuality on the black community? What should we do moving forward?
Well, the black community will handle itself. It's not popular today, just as it wasn't popular when The Wounded Womb first came out in 1989. We were met with all kinds of adversity back in those days. The feminists, black and white, came out against us. Now with homosexuality, which we warned back then would be the end result of feminism infiltrating itself into the black community, you're going to see a rise in homosexuality. We said that back in the early 1990s. And sure enough, it was nurtured into what we see today. And you're going to see parts of that in my book, The Wounded Womb, as well, which actually started back in the early 1980s and 84s when Queen Afua and I were together. And put together something called The Sacred Woman. And that grew, and she grew that, and wonderful thing this now has become. And it's been helping our sisters so greatly that, that when it came down to the technical points in The Wounded Womb, that's essentially what The Wounded Womb is about, the technical points. It's not a book that tells you how to solve your problems. That's too easy. I'm sick and tired of people coming out with how-to manuals. No. We have not yet truly investigated and researched the problem and how the problem institutes itself to such a degree that it never goes away. It keeps revising itself. It keeps renewing itself. Why? Because we've never addressed it. And so The Wounded Womb begins to show you where all the problems lie. Before you a technique or anything, that's all bandages, that's Band-Aids over a hemorrhage. No, we're going to show you where the real problem is. And in the book, you see it, point by point.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
A lot of knowledge.
Peace, Doc. Peace, Brother Ogad again. Awesome interview. I'm loving what I'm hearing this evening. Appreciate Brother Solomon and Sister Renee for taking over. I got to ask you about we talked about it briefly earlier, It seems like when we have, the youth, when I say the youth, I mean, 30s down to, the teens and the children. And they come on the show and we build very fine, but it's like when we had a few elders on the platform and it's like it's haywire, it's arguing, cutting each other off, and what do we have to do to get the youth and the elders to join up, to come to some type of a common thread in this conscious community and with this whole Black liberation theology? What has to be done as an elder? Can you give me your thoughts on that, Doc?
Well, I don't contend with my youth. My youth can't actually tell me things that they don't know about and haven't lived long enough to experience. So when I was growing up, the youth their world, because I know the world is completely different with what we had. Just like we did something different with what our elders gave to us. We're going to do our best with what they gave us, but it's not going to look the same. The idea is going to be there. The impetus and the purity of the intention should be there, but you never know. Time changes things. It allows it to develop into different ways. No rose or no rosebud is the same. You could plant the seed, and every year, every time that rose bush puts out a flower, it's different. So what I would say is that with our children inside of those adults will become frustrated because they have not been able to manifest all that they have been trying to fight for. And sometimes their anger and their frustration shows in their contentiousness with one another. And I have to deal with that amongst my own. We're not perfect. We have a lot to learn as well. And that's the problem with a lot of our elders. A lot of our elders have stopped learning. They thought that they think they already know. A lot of them have stopped and said, this is as far as we need to go for change to happen. I've never done that. I've always said that I remain a student. And that's how you grow. That's how you come together with the youth. Aligning themselves with what it is that you're teaching. Because I never, ever talked down to them. I've never made them feel that they were inferior. I demand respect as an elder, but I don't demand it so that by telling you I'm better than you. It's because I know a little more and because I lived a little longer than you. And in so doing, that you should, I will listen to everything you say, because they have some young youth that are brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And they call me and they talk to me on the Facebook, and I love speaking with them. But if they don't sound like they have it all together, I'll tell them. I'll direct them. And if they don't want to be directed, then I cut off communications until they're ready.
Yes, sir. I want to know what's your stance on militancy. And when I say militancy, I'm not saying going out there and doing anything stupid, but it seems like the youth is getting a lot of flack in the conscious community for trying to follow in the footsteps of the Khalid Muhammad, the Malcolm X, who simply said, we just want to protect our families. We're not going to be a murderer or a killer like the white man. We're just saying that, when we look at Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street, we look at the movement in Philadelphia and Rosewood, we seen that, we weren't necessarily prepared for what the white man would do. So how do you feel on, us being able to protect ourselves and the elders kind of looking down on us and saying, y'all can't do it, we can't do it like this. But if I look at history, I say, well, we have no other choice. You know what I mean? But can you expound on that, Elder? I appreciate it.
Well, I don't see elders saying, and elders telling you that not to fight back against injustice when injustice. Any elder saying that and then going back and listening and saying that Malcolm, they love Malcolm, they're fools. Even Martin said it was time for you to defend yourself. So elders were talking about the fact that you are, that you shouldn't be militant. That's not militancy. Militance is another fabricated word. The only militant here is the white man.
Right.
Black people are walking around with guns, shooting, in uniforms and shooting people. They're supposed to be the authority that shows it differently. But militancy is that's a broad word if you want to use it. If it's not a directed or logistically and tactical militancy, then it's just anarchy. It's just foolhardy, no leadership, no strategy. I'm not talking about that as militancy. The first militancy is in the mind. You have to first be militant-minded to understand how to be militant in action. Militant-minded, basically understand how your adversary is working your mind so that you don't get drawn into a trap, so that they can use militant force or lethal force against you because you were drawn in to a trap. If you don't understand how militancy is a science, the art of war says you fight your battles first in your mind and in the drawing room before you even take the field. And that's the problem. Most of the times we're just reacting to what he does. So there's no actual plan. There's no actual tactical revisions of our strategies. We just got these jackasses who call themselves reverends and say, come on out, let's go march.
Mm-hmm.
The most pathetic form of weakness and powerlessness out there. What the hell are you marching about? And so the problem is that we have been allocated our leadership, and our leadership that we believe is supposed to lead us righteously are being led and paid by those who are the ones that are we're supposed to be having our militancy against. But like I said, as you said, the Black Panthers weren't out there to be militant, to go and take over the government. They were just trying to protect their community from criminal cops. So that form of defense is not militant.
Yes, absolutely.
And just abject militants and what do you call it? Because if black cops were in the white community shooting down their children, what do you think that white community would have done?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. You think that white community would have not armed themselves, and you would not see even the 10-year-olds strapped with M16s, and yet still we have these Negroes telling us not to protect ourselves, not to march, not to go out and to deal with this injustice? No. I don't condone violence in any means. But as far as violence is concerned, if it's to protect my child and my wife and my family, I will take your life. Absolutely. Instead of you having to take my child's life or my wife's life. And that's the law. That's the law. That's right. You can actually fight back and use lethal force against the police if they are overstepping their bounds of behavior. Mm-hmm. That is a law. I mean, I'm not saying anything to instigate riots and to say anything that will bring anything down on me. I'm actually dictating and actually telling you that the law states that you can fight back against a police officer who has overstepped their rights and their boundaries of behavior, so that you may, for fear of your life, you may defend yourself. So that's the other thing that we are not being told by the black leaders and the ones from the pulpit and against undue, and the citizenry in witnessing such behavior by police have the right to step in at that point when you see somebody handcuffed and then being beaten, handcuffed by their feet and their hands, and being beaten. No, that's just that essentially is some bastards who came back from Iraq and essentially have not yet been deprogrammed from their actual indoctrination for killing brown people.
Right. Wow. Okay, so you mentioned the fact that we're reacting. How can we get our community to stop being so reactive and to be more proactive? Because, it's frustrating that every time we have something happen, be it with the police murders and just all of these type of things that are going on right now, why is it we constantly wait and then we say something? What can we do to get our people to understand the severity of our condition and what we need to be doing now, not after something's happened, but now.
Again, you have to remember that the conditioning process begins in the womb. It begins with the mother and father. It begins with the school system. It begins with your church and your Jesus Christ. The same oppressor that oppresses you is going to church and like my mentor says, said, if the oppressor is worshiping Jesus Christ and the slave is worshiping Jesus Christ, and the both of them are praying to Jesus Christ for their own wishes, the oppressor, of course, makes sure that Jesus Christ makes sure that you stay oppressed, whereas the oppressed says, can you free me from my master? Now, if the oppressed is actually praying to the same God that the oppressor is praying to, which one is God is going to answer? You know, whose prayers are going to be answered? You see? So, you know, so far it seems like the oppressor's God is the one who... Church is a liability to black consciousness or to consciousness, period, and that its tenets, which are based in the Bible on what we call universal truths. Universal truths being that these truths were actually watched and managed over, say, 10,000, 20,000 years, and of course, humanity has a pattern of behavior that can be predicted. After a certain period of time, you know that certain behavior results in certain liabilities, certain things. So you can always write about a future based upon the tendencies and behaviorisms of a society. It's not are abhorrent and perversive and destructive in your society. Here's what is going to eventually happen. So the Bible is suffused with all these stories, and it's always about one person seeing what God has said, keeping the commandments while everybody goes haywire, and then they get destroyed and a new covenant is born. This is all the Bible is about. And now if you understand the one thread of universal truth, love thy neighbor, be good, do this. You don't need a Bible with all 10,000 million words in there to know that there is a germ and a seed of righteousness in all of us that can be nurtured. It doesn't need a book. You don't need a church. So, when the last, there's an old saying, when the last roof of the last stone of the last building has fallen on the last priest, that's when humanity will be free. So until we can get rid of these people who have assigned themselves as the conduits to God and not teaching our people, as I've said, don't follow me anywhere. I have a few things that I can tell you about my own experiences based upon what I know, but I damn sure don't want you following me anywhere. You are your own divinity within you to follow you. And I teach you how to find that part of yourself that will lead you to the Creator within. Now, everybody else is trying to get you to a heaven that don't goddamn exist nowhere.
Right.
And even their Christ tells them that the kingdom of God is within you. Yet still you out there looking for something that St. Peter is going to give you a ticket to get past it. It is nonsense. We are such children. We are so infantile. We are moronic idiots to be going there believing that crap about this Jesus Christ person and what it is that he supposedly had done. And all of it being African history, all of it being melanated history telling you, and if the ancestors were to look back and see what we did with their knowledge, they'd be laughing at us.
Yes.
Stupid we've become. We've taken their stories of great eclectic knowledge and we've made it into these Grimm's fairy tales for children. So I'll tell you this, that what can we do? We can do it in small little chunks, like we're doing at the university. we can help to raise what I call the intellectual and psychospiritual index so that people can see what their conditions are. We're tired of the reactive mind. We're tired of shooting us and then we go out there and say, no more shooting, we are the Black Lives Matter.
Right.
Well, it's boasting. I'm sick and tired of that.
Absolutely.
We use this cannon fodder because we are not teaching them ourselves. Malcolm told you, if you're letting your enemy teach your children, then you are a fool. Don't expect that the enemy does not come back into your house.
Yes.
So you have to understand.
That's one of my favorite books.
Indeed. And now you have to understand that you have to take your children from this institute that's out there conditioning them. Take them from the television. They shouldn't be actually even looking at television until after they're 7 or 8 years of age. No television. I know that's like, oh, what? You kidding me? What am I going to do with myself? Get creative. Right. Get creative. You know, because the television is the worst place that you want to find your mind when your mind ain't got nothing else to find.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So understand and understand that the reading does. Reading and teaching people to read allows you to use both sides, both hemispheres of your brain. The TV shuts down hemispheric activity. So when you read, when you're listening even to stories being told to you of greatness, of black greatness, both hemispheres are working, you see. So when our children are, instead of looking at TV and getting secondhand experiences from a celluloid plastic screen, they're out there touching animals, growing food. They're having a 3D experience, a tactile experience. They're developing both hemispheres of their brain. And that's what we want, whole children, because we want them balanced in their thinking. The hemispheres represent the two wings of Ma'at.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let me give out the number real quick. You're tuned in the Black Radio. We have Reverend Dr. Phil Valentine going in on the sign of the time, the state of the black race. The call-in number for this evening, family, as always, is 619-924-0694. Once again, 619-924-0694. Now, let me tell you, family, press 1 if you want to ask a question, because the elder's not going to be here too much longer. So if you have a question, now is the time to press 1, because, you know, he's a very busy man, and I'm feeling the energy right now. I'm feeling the energy from the interview, and I'm really blown away. And I'm like, man, I'm like, wow. Yeah, I'm honored. Like, man, this is awesome. I appreciate you, Doc. You know, so, Renee, thank you. Do you have any other questions, Renee, or Solar? And I'll
yes,
open up the microphone. All right, go ahead, Renee. You got it.
I don't want to take up everything, but I want to address the other two things I wanted to talk about. Was one, when you were just kind of speaking about the Bible and everything, and what you think we need to do, or do you think we can get our people out of that Bible? Like with how the churches, the black churches today, and everything going on with that, do you think it's feasible? I'm sorry?
I get the gist of your question. It seems that your voice drops out every now and then. That's with also the other host. I can get the gist of your question. No, you can't get them out of it. They have to get themselves out of it. And that's what we have. What you do is, my father always told me, rest his soul, that you don't battle evil with evil. What you do is you put something good in its place, and then the evil will definitely find that there is pretty much a terminal course to its own end. Evil can't sustain itself because it's out of balance with all of nature. And so therefore what we call evil is adverse. So when you're dealing outside of Ma'at, nature itself, the spirit itself, the universe itself, based on the laws of Ma'at, will automatically make you either see or be destroyed by your activities. So, no, I don't go after anybody to come out of Christianity, because I call it Christianity, and they will find how crazy it is. And a lot of people have told me a lot of people who are Christians, former Christians, that's because, remember, in one of my lectures, I say that I'm a recovering Christian and I have been sober for the last 50 years. So what I'm saying is that you have to come out of it yourself. You have to awaken yourself. And it's the last 35, 40 years about Christian insanity. I cannot tell them to come out of it. All I can do is be the representative of the other side of what it is that they're seeking outside of themselves, to be the one to teach them to seek all that they are requiring within. And just having the University of Commission Sciences there is enough. It becomes the torchlight, the light that is the lighthouse in the dark. And so many people have said that they're so glad that I started this so many years ago, because I don't go looking for them anymore. I mean, after all, I've got about 300 tapes, cassettes, and stuff floating around the world now. But that's really not what it is. It's what they feel deeply within themselves that brings them here.
Wow. Well,
yeah, I just want to, I'm sorry, Renee. I'm bringing the 419 real quick. They just press 1. Yeah, and then we'll continue. So I'm bringing the 419-280. 419-280. They're live on End of Black Radio. Peace. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hotel. I'm calling from Toledo, Ohio. And my name is Floyd Mack, and I'd like to appreciate Dr. Phil Valentine. We've been listening to a lot of his materials here in Toledo. I wish he could come here. And every chance I get every day, I try to listen to, I call him God, Dr. God, because to me, it brings out the inner man in me as being a God. But let me just say this. I was a chaplain, and I'm retired from the University of Toledo Medical Center from being the chaplain. And for many years, I used to teach as far as the Christianity thing, different faiths and different denominations. And just before I retired, I heard one of Dr. Phil's on YouTube, one of his tapes. My sister, Earlene Queen Belcher, told me to listen to Dr. Phil Valentine. And ever since then, that's been like 3.5, 4 years ago, I've been on it, listening to his tapes and studying his materials. And it makes, to me, it makes a lot of sense for me to drop and retire the way I did from working at the hospital, because I didn't believe in that Christianity anymore. I mean, my eyes were open. I'm 63 now, so my eyes were open, and now it's like I'm a whole new different person. And like I said, I got on this line just to tell Dr. Phil Valentine, I really appreciate you, what you've done in my life, man. You're awesome.
You're most welcome, beloved, and I'm very happy. There's no more satisfying feeling than actually helping someone to achieve their own self-awareness. I'm not responsible for it. I'm just here as an adjunct, an adjutant, to remind you of what you already know, but were refused to have access to when you were young. And the religion was placed there, intermediary between reason, logic, and understanding, overstanding.
Yes.
Happy that you have, advocated.
Yeah. I sent you in your inbox. I was telling you I had a discussion about a fella having a debate about the religion thing, and what's the religion? What's the feminine side of creation? How many names or something I mentioned to you?
Yeah.
You named some of them, and I was able to use that and piggyback off of you said. You said one important thing to me after you were done. You said, you have to do your own research. And I have been doing it, but I haven't been in as long as you have, so I'm new at this. But I made a profound statement, and I guess I wasn't in there to win the argument, but I did win the argument, and thanks to you.
You had a good showing. You did a good showing. They made them think. That's what you need to do. That's all you need to do is to leave them with something to think about. Yeah, that's how it begins.
Definitely, brother. Definitely appreciate you from Toledo, Ohio. Peace, brother. Sister Renee, Dr. Valentine has, he said he would give us 2 hours, so if you have any more questions you want to get, and, you have 17 more minutes before the doctor has to go, so, because nobody else pressed one.
Okay.
Some calls on the line, but go ahead, Renee. You got it.
And also I wanted to say, too, that there's something going on, I guess, with the phone lines. Some people have been unable to call. So that's kind of upsetting. That's been happening lately. So we'll have to look into that. But if you are on the line.
What we'll do is, we'll go down the line. I'm sorry, we'll go down the line, right? And I'll see if they want to talk. Maybe they're pressing one and we can't see it, but we'll go down the line and see. Yeah, but go ahead, Renee.
Okay, if you do have a question, please press 1 or comment. But Dr. Valentine, I wanted you to talk a little bit. I have one of my other issues. I have many with the Black community, of course, that I'm passionate about. But one is mass incarceration. And I feel like the level that it's at for our community, we should absolutely be outraged. I don't see how we are not outraged as a people with how the numbers are and what's going on. Can you talk a little bit about, mass incarceration, its effects on the community, why this is going on, and maybe expound on that a little bit?
Well, you have to look at the root of this mass incarceration and the incentive behind it. At the time, they were building the prison industrial complex because they could no longer, the government and those who were the parasites, the interest on the debt that the United States Corporation had to the international bankers. So the interest kept rising every year, actually every quarter. So what had to happen is that they had to now, in the beginning, you see, it's a long story, and I'm trying to cut it short. The long story is that the worth of a nation is in its resources in the ground, gold, silver, and so forth, the oil, and all the things that the indigenous population and the people of the land can utilize in order to enhance themselves. Now, what the people who actually conquered these territorial United States did was to take the gold that they had stolen, the 5 families, or the 13 families, or the 5 families of the Federal Reserve Board, said that they would go to the United States government, the Senate, and so forth, and they told them that if you would betray the American people and cut a deal with us so that we can then allow you to use our privately minted money at a cost, we would then allow you to monetize the gold at 100,000 times its value. So gold jumped from something like, $50 an ounce. In monetizing the gold, or what then became the foundation to, or the worth of a nation that actually backed its laws with value and backed its currency with value, that was then given over to the international bankers, because the bankers said that you would pay your interest and your debt in gold. So what they did was give us private money, and they had us pay back the interest in the substance of our own. But what they did also was then, based on the fact that they were creating an industrial juggernaut, they then said that since the human being, like they showed you in Matrix, is a battery of energy, that we will then monetize the energy of every individual person in the United States. The potential output of energy for each person born would then have a value. And this is all metaphysics. This is why people don't understand what metaphysics really is. It's about breaking down how these parasites think and what they use of the magic system. So now that they have turned your energy, your living, breathing soul, and the aura and energy you put out and all the work that you do, which becomes energy, now that becomes monetized through the birth certificate system. That energy now, the energy of the human now becomes a bond that is written up as the birth certificate. So what I'm saying is that the foundation to everything that we spoke about now that you have that, now go ahead and ask me the same question again.
Okay. We have about 11 minutes left before Dr. Valentine.
I got it.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Okay,
ask me that same question you asked. No, the same question you asked me before I answered this. I was leading up to something to show you how it works.
Okay.
Ask me that question you just asked me again.
Okay. What do you think about mass incarceration of our people and why it's happening?
No. The mass incarceration. Now, when they could no longer pay the debt on the energy that was then being shipped out to then with other people, they began to get, in order to monetize it and to make it even more, make their input and their bottom line for their corporate investors more, they then shipped all of the industry that they had created here overseas so that they can get that same energy at a cheaper price. What they did over here with the residual people, which are the men, was to create the prison industrial complex. Now what they did was then the accrued value on the bond that was created at your birth, which comes up to millions and billions, To do that, they had to house you as a warehouse receipt. That's why all of the incarceration. That's why they invaded the hip-hop community and created the rap community so that they could criminalize and fill those jails. Because an empty jail does not make any money for the state. So the mass incarceration now, which is based on an injustice system, based on a fiat system, based on a criminal system, with the Zarians and the rest of them, all of these bastards now have been profiting off of the misery. Now things are going to change. Things are getting ready to go change. All of those people who have been the criminal cabal that have been dealing with the misery of humanity as the you're going to find that it is over. Now the whole value of the human being is being reassessed. And who you are now has to be a spiritual being in order to understand and overstand and inherit the future that we have now seen for humanity. And I'm telling you this, the metaphysics was the first step. The metaphysics is the first step. The understanding of your true spiritual self is the first step. Don't try to undermine that and say, well, we got to get our people together. All that spiritual nonsense and all that stuff don't mean a damn thing. Well, your spirituality was what led you to your greatness. Don't start putting that to the side right now. Your spirituality built the pyramids. Your give you the knowledge to build the pyramids. So what makes you think it would not give you the knowledge to solve this problem that you're dealing with right now with this man?
Teach, brother.
So you have to understand that you are being raised up in your consciousness, and I talk about the consciousness index having to be raised before we understand how important every action we take with one another, against one another, and for one another is in the collective.
Let me we have definitely some questions for you on the line. I'm going to come to 714 first, then 785, and then 415. I would ask that you be concise with your question or comment, please. All right,
yes,
714. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, how you doing? My name is It's Willie Jones. I'm calling from California. I'd like to thank Brother Umar and the Queen Renee for having this show. I follow you guys on social media all the time. And thank you, Dr. Valentine, for being on here. And my question is there, real quick, my question is there a way that black folks could work together and put religion to the side? Like, say, for instance, a Christian, like someone to build a credit union or a school. Is there a way we can work together, like other ethnic groups work together? They have different religions, but they still come together to build. That's my question to Dr. Valentine.
All right.
Well, that is
Thank you,
happening
brother.
right now. I cannot speak right personally. A lot of people are saying that a lot of people who are saying that the conscious community is not doing anything. Trust me, the conscious community, the real conscious community, has gone into hibernation. They have gone there in order to be able to start the planning for building just the very things that we have been teaching over these many years. So don't think that because you don't see any tangible evidence of what spirituality or the raising of consciousness is about does not mean that it is not active. When you plant a seed, you don't see what's happening under the not yet ready to sprout, but we are almost there. You will see the first sprout of what the divine has been able to give to everyone on this planet based upon us raising our consciousness. And you're going to see the fruit of that in the next 20 or 30 years based upon the seed that was planted today.
Okay. All right, let's go to 785. What's your name and where are you calling from?
How you doing? It's Stephen Johnson calling from Topeka, Kansas.
All right. You have a question?
I just have a statement. I want to thank all of y'all for what you do. I want to say that can Mr. Valentine speak on what I believe is the root cause of black people's problem, that we cannot live within a system of white supremacy on its doorstep and ever have change. We went through 400 or 500 years of this. What we need to do is use the same undying energy that we used during the civil rights movement, purchase some land, put our resources together, and start building self-sufficient communities, which is a prelude to an independent, black-owned, black-ran state. We're going to have to start nation building in order to survive. The white man has decided that we are no longer useful to him, and what Martin Luther King and others did, that has ran out for black people. We're going to have to start being independent and controlling our own reality. We got to build our own schools, our own hospitals. We have to build our own businesses, our own infrastructure. We have to start looking to that, and how doing that is by building your communities up at a small level and then later into sovereignty. I just want Dr. Phil Valentine to talk about that, because the example that I use is if you're sitting in a swimming pool, chained down, shackled, and 4 men is on each corner trying to drown you in the swimming pool, but the key is beside your feet. What are you trying to do? Are you pleading to your oppressor to stop drowning in the swimming pool, or are you trying to get that key to unlock yourself? So we have to start thinking about fixing our own problems first and stop talking to our oppressor, stop begging him, stop running with science and understanding. We have to separate ourselves from the problem in order for it to get better. Thanks a lot, and could you please speak on that?
Well, thank you. By all means, brother, you're right on time, and that's what we've been speaking about over these past couple of hours. The self-sufficiency does not have to go anywhere. We will take this land back. There's no going anywhere. This land belongs to us. It went fee simple in 2004. The thing is, we were too ignorant to know, and the leaders that were placed there from the Boule made sure that we did not remember that this land belonged to us and that it went fee simple in 2004, and that the territorial United States that they call man, and she will take this back. We don't have to go anywhere. In fact, we will take over everything. In fact, Africa and all the other places, now that the Chinese found that they were black, now, I mean, all the madness and craziness that they have taken, all of what was taken from the land. Let me just leave this with you. The new policy, and I will tell you this, The new policy is that your blood has to match the flora and fauna of the land. In other words, DNA don't mean anything. Your DNA just tells you that you're human. Your RNA, DNA are of the United States of America, but your RNA and the people who are running it, the RNA is of Europe. You don't belong here. Therefore, the land and the resources in the land will belong to those whose RNA and DNA match the flora and fauna of the land. Right. That is going to be the new policy. So until that has become a reality, there's no building. You can't build on sand, and you can't build on rubble. You have to clear the rubble first. So, yes, I feel your passion, brother. I know exactly what you mean. And don't believe that we are not thinking along those same lines. We are extraining ourselves from the enemy. But the enemy has to cling to us. Remember, he is a parasite, and a parasite lives off of its host. But when its host recognizes the parasite and knows what to do with the parasite fights for its life even harder. So we must go through that stage before the parasite is ejected off the body of the humanity that we are dealing with today.
Well, Dr. Valentine, I thank you. We're at the end of the 2 hours. We do have several questions
Renee,
on the line.
Dr. Valentine, you have a few more minutes, right? You can answer some questions. You have a few more callers, right?
Yes. We can make it short, and I'd like to leave my telephone number and for people if they wish to get in contact with us for services. If they wish to get with our services, they can call 800-847-1291.
Say that again.
91.
I'm sorry, you cut out right
there. 800-847-1291. Again, 800-847-1291. If they wish to go to our website, they can go to uksnow.org. That's U as in United, K as in King, S as in Science, NOW.org. That's where we have all of our listings for our university's courses. Our next course begins on the 21st of November, which is Metaphysical Psychology 1, and on November 26th, vaccination exemptions. You want to deal with naturopathic health and healing with our Juice Plus and so forth. You call the 800-847-1291. Please speak clearly. Do not mumble. Please make your numbers legible, audible, and make sure that your audible voice is direct, making sure that you don't say a whole 10,000 words before your number. Please give us your number first so that we can call you back. And make sure that because people call and say, Brother Valentine, this is so-and-so, so-and-so, I want to talk to you about this. Please call me.
Right.
And speak it twice. Speak it clearly so that we can get back to you.
Okay. All right. We're going to go to...
Yeah, we're going to go ahead.
One or two more questions. Yeah.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. I said 2 more questions. We'll make it 1 minute each. So try to get it out fast, family. Okay. I wish I would have called in earlier, but yeah, 2 more questions, Renee. 2 more callers, 1 minute apiece. Yeah, go ahead, Renee.
So we're going to go to 415 and then 337. Please be concise. All right, 415. What's your name and where you calling from?
My name is Esther, and I'm calling from in Las Vegas, Nevada. I just want to say thank you for having these calls. Dr. Valentine, I really appreciate getting the chance to hear your speaking tonight, mainly the focus with the breakdown of what took place on Jekyll Island. That's a book to be read that tells what actually took place, setting all this up with the monetary system, the Federal Reserve. So
the creature from Jekyll Island, yeah. Yes,
the creature from Jekyll Island. Yes. I recently, out of the past, when I say recent, out of the past 2 years, 2.5 years roughly, I had the chance to start getting more knowledge and becoming more conscious of exactly what was going on around me, in my world, in my life. I must admit, I'm 63 years old. I went through the Christian whole thing. That was just like a joke to me, to a very strong degree of my life. I'm back and forth with it, but I just didn't know which way to go. My life points towards more of the metaphysical realm, totally just overall in my life, health conscious, everything. I try to stress to everyone that I possibly can that will hear me, mainly the young blacks that are sick and ill. They don't know what to do, how to balance their health, pull it together, and take care of themselves naturally rather than trying to pop a pill or think it's okay to take these additives and drinks.
Sis, I hate to cut you off or, rush you, but he is on limited time.
I understand.
So, you want to get to your question?
Excuse me, but all of this is so important right now for me, and I'm just thankful to have the chance to listen to it all. But I'll continue listening, and I just want to say thanks.
Thank you very much, sis. Much appreciated. Okay, let's go to 337. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good evening. This is Abazu Uncommon.
Okay.
Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings to you, Dr. Valentine. Quick question for you, sir. I wanted to know, is it realistic to believe that we as a nation of melanated people within a nation can achieve a true and complete freedom physically, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally without first being in total unification amongst ourselves as black people? That's my question, sir.
Good question.
Good question. Not in a rogue nation. The rogue nation has to die. And when the nation no longer has the power over the mind of the people will change that nation, and a new nation will be born. Nations are temporal. They come and go. They come and go based on the mindset of the people. I know it sounds as if, that doesn't give me something to do and to act on. Well, all things that are of value take processes to come into being. And freedom, as you're looking at it, change at the substantive level takes a process. The first process towards a change of the kind that we are looking at has to come from the minds of the people, where the change will take place first. And if you don't change the minds and elevate the minds, the frustration right now is that the mind has been opened. The conscious community helped open the minds of the people. The minds of the people now open to see the injustice, to see how the mechanisms of injustice work. Before, we just knew the brunt end of the stick, the brunt end of the whip. But the intrinsic mechanism of the kind of brutality, the kind of slavery, the kind of oppression, the mechanisms of counter-freedom or anti-freedom, we now know what they are. The frustration is that we don't have the resources at hand and the collective will combined together with one focus to address it. But you know what? We are being forced into it. And slowly but surely, we are now laying the path within the process so that those who follow us will then be well equipped in mind and in body. So trust me, the resources that have been taken from us are going to be returned. As a matter of fact, they are being returned as I speak. I cannot talk any deeper into it because I am asked not to speak on it yet, but I will when the time is right. But know this, preparation is everything. I don't care what it is that you're saying, yelling and screaming about what we don't have. If you're not prepared for everything that you are crying for,
absolutely,
you could be screaming and everything. You could be crying the blues. But if you're not prepared to receive, and you're not prepared to take up the mantle that you are yelling and screaming for, then what's the sense of it? You're going to be right back under the slavery system of someone else who's going to take advantage of your unpreparedness. So yes, your patience and your preparedness, the preparing of your children, not to be blinded by religion, not to be blinded by the farce. Teach them, as the sister said, about Jekyll Island, how this very system and this nation, this anti-nation, because it's not a real nation. It's a fiat corporate system. This is not a nation. The United States is not a nation. It's a corporate system. It's a structure run by a few devils. So you have to understand the difference. This is not a nation. The nation is being born right now. It's being built right now. So, yes, we are going to triumph. But preparedness, as all military strategists will tell you, preparedness is key. You have to be prepared to assume the mantle and the role that you are crying for. And you're not ready. We're not ready. We are slowly getting ready, but we're not ready.
Yes. Oh, wow. This was amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Valentine, for enlightening us and giving us so much information, so much to think about. Wow, that's all I can say. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Right, I'm going to say, Dr. Valentine, I'm going to say this, brother, is for another brother, man. I love you, brother. I mean, this was very, you really took the whole, my level of respect for you to a whole nother level. I appreciate you coming in here and dealing with us as, younger people, and not disrespecting us, and, getting the information out to the people. Because at the end of the day, it's about the people. So I just want to say thank you, Dr. Valentine. Hopefully we can have you on in the future. I'm so honored to have you for these 2 hours. It's a privilege. And I want to say peace and black power to you, brother, doctor. And hopefully, like I said, we can have you in the future. Definitely.
Peace and black power to you, family. And thank you very much for this kind invitation and this opportunity to speak to our brothers and sisters.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Enjoy your night.
Peace.
Thank you.
Definitely. Peace. Yeah. So definitely, fam, there you have it. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Woo. Now, let me say something real quick.
Excellent information.
So, look, that was beautiful. And I know.
Was you going to drop the bomb?
Yeah, I got you. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Let me pull the pen out. I'm throwing it now. Hold on. Here we go.
All right. Wow.
Damn. Now, look, here's the thing. I'm going to be real quick, all right? Coming into the interview, we had a lot of people that was kind of preying on our downfall. Like, well, I hope we hang up on y'all. I hope we do this. I hope we do that. But as you can see, family, we proved to everyone. Not that it's about proving anything to y'all, but, come on, man. In the black radio on the rise, it's more than a radio show. It's a movement. We're about black liberation over here. Uncompromising. We're not compromising anything for any other platform. Y'all heard what the doctor said tonight. And I'm telling you right now, I got a whole nother level of respect for the doctor after tonight. That's real. I'm really feeling myself right now. I'm like, damn. He crushed the militancy thing, the homosexual issue, the elders versus the youth. He crushed it all in one night. All the stuff that we've been talking about for the whole year, he just, put that in a coffin. So, again, I want to say I'm thankful. And when we started the show, Brother Solomon, I never would have thought, man, that we would have Phil Valentine on here, man. I'm filled with joy right now, family, real talk. But I'm going to let y'all go ahead and pick the microphone. Peace. Appreciate y'all, Sister Renee and Brother Solomon, from the heart. Appreciate that.
No doubt. That's what's up. The brother's mind is very deep. It's real expansive. And I say, that's him and Bobby Hemming is most of the DVDs that I have is really lectures that he done,
right?
And Bobby Hemming done, and it's kind of like I became interested in listening to those brothers because they would say so much stuff that I never heard before, and I was just like, at that point, I just wanted to know, and I just was like absorbing all types of information. No matter how, crazy it may have sounded at the time. So it just was like, those two brothers really had information that, got me to actually buying books. Because I was, they would be saying something that came from a book. And I'm like, yeah, let me see if this is really in that book. And I would go and buy the book to see, if what they were saying was accurate. You know what I mean? So it was just like, yeah, definitely that is the real, that's what kind of pulled a lot of brothers into, the consciousness, the conscious community, so to speak. And it's like, that's what, he said earlier, like, what you see today, like the new people that's kind of coming in, you know what I mean? It's like we don't really get that privilege nowadays, because it's like, you don't hear people talking like him no more. Like, people don't really talk like him no more. And it's like, so it's been like a shift. Things are starting to change. And like, as what, he was alluding to, a lot of things that you see out there is not really what, was established, what he was saying by himself. You know what I mean? So it's like, definitely, man, it's a very powerful show. You know what I mean? Because like what you said, he broke down a lot of things. And then he also gave us knowledge. And see,
right.
The thing is that the reason why is because he has a lot of wisdom.
There you go.
And there's a lot of people that is older, you know what I mean, but they not our elders. Like Phil Valentine is our elder. Just because you're older than another person doesn't make them your elder. You know what I mean? Phil Valentine is one of our elders because he has a lot of wisdom. You know what I mean? And he knows how to talk to people. That's the number one thing. That's what Neil Lee Fuller said. You know what I mean? One of our main problems is that we don't know how to talk to each other. You know what I mean? So he was able to, one, talk to us in a manner in which we, will listen. And it's funny because he's older than a lot of other people that was older than us that came on the show before.
Right.
He's older than them, and he knew how to communicate better to us than them.
Yes, sir.
Who was closer to our age, and so it all boils down to the fact that the man has a lot of wisdom. You know what I'm saying? And he knows the nature of human beings. You know what I mean? You can't come on somebody's show and be talking down to them and trying to disrespect them. It's going to create a crazy environment. You know what I mean? So it's like, definitely, man. This is one of our best shows, man.
Without a doubt. And that was definitely a good, what you were saying, man. Like, man. I mean, like, that's a perfect, like you said, a perfect example of how, the elders are supposed to engage the youth. Like, even though that Dr. Phil Valentine knows more than us, even though he has more knowledge and wisdom, he still gave us the opportunity to talk. And just put it in layman's terms, he spoke the language of the people. No matter what question we threw at him, he spoke the language of the people. And that's what we're trying to tell y'all. You ain't got to be speaking over people's head and all this, just speak the language. If you got different people talking different things, speak their language. That's all we're saying, family. So, again, to all the people that hate it out there, that prayed on our downfall, all the YouTube comments and the Facebook comments, and the people working behind the scenes to try to make sure a guest didn't come on our show, we still here. We ain't going nowhere. It's in the black radio, in the black media. We're really in this for the liberation of our people. I don't care about the YouTube likes. I don't care about the statistics. The only thing I care about is that if I'm changing the person's mind, and ultimately they will liberate their body. I got a message today from a sister out in Baltimore. She was like, brother, oh, you the guy from the Black and Noble video. I'm like, yeah. She was like, well, brother, like you in the black radio was instrumental and me coming into consciousness, man. That's what she said. She was like, keep doing y'all. I'm like, cool. That's what's up, because I don't know how far. I mean, our videos go all over, United Kingdom, Brazil, Africa, all over. We all over the world, and all we trying to do, it may look like that we're banging on people and all that, but at the end of the day, all we want is our people to be free. That's it. And sometimes you're going to have to fight with your brothers. But again, Brother Nazi Yashavel, who's coming on next Thursday, said that we could be up in a room. Like, me and Solomon could be up in a room, banging, fighting. You know what I mean? Whatever, who's getting the best of who, whatever. But if our brother is downstairs, right, and he say, damn, somebody's shooting at him, the white man's shooting at him, me and him got to stop fighting and shit. We're going to stop fighting, but, yo, we got to go help a little brother downstairs because the white man's shooting at him. So it's just like, all right, it's a new era right now in the conscious community. Forget all the debating. Forget all the infighting. You know what I'm saying? We're about unification. Now, we see that the Hebrew Israelite right now is seeking to unify with a faction of the Moors. That's a beautiful thing. I love it. I applaud it. We got to put those, like, when I look at Marcus Garvey and look at his ideology, and I say, okay, well, Marcus Garvey had Moors, Hebrews, Muslims, Christians, all that in his organization. Because he said, you know what? Leave that at the door. Now, I'm not saying, when I say leave it at the door, I'm not saying that you can't practice your religion, but don't make the fact that you believe in Yahshua or Allah, don't make that a determining factor in whether or not you can't come together with a man who looks identical to you. That's all I'm saying. So when it's like time to bang on this white man, we fuck with the Hebrews. When it's time to bang on a white man, we fuck with the Moors. I got some information. And I mean, Hebrews in the Bible. What's up? Let's get in it. So it's like, all right, it's a chess move now. Fuck the debating. Fuck trying to find what's different with the Moors. Oh, well, you don't believe that slavery ain't happened. Oh, you don't believe that we black, man. Fuck all that, man. We will deal with that when we take the white man out of power. We will deal with that when we end the system of racism and white supremacy. Then we can talk all day about that irrelevant shit, man. We can have debates, lectures, but at the end of the day, right, the white man don't ask if you a Moor. He don't ask if you a Hebrew. He don't ask if you a Muslim or a Christian. He sees the African black man. He sees his skin. He looks at you and says, you know what? He is a fucking threat to me. He is a threat to me surviving. So, I mean, man, yo, this is, yo, you talking about a counterpunch, man. We knocked y'all niggas the fuck out with this one. You know what I mean? A lot of haters out there, but, hey, we going to be here. We ain't going nowhere. And one more thing. What we doing now, right, is we're going to be unifying. Our goal right now is to unify the different factions. Because at the end of the day, we have a whole system that's against the Moors, the Hebrews, the Nawapians. We have a whole system. So fuck the labels, man. Let's get together and let's destroy white supremacy, man. But anyway, if Sister Renee got something to say, microphone is now yours. Let's see what we got right here. Let me see. Okay, so I'm bringing another call.
Yeah, that's the way.
That's cool. Go ahead, Renee. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna step away for a minute. Over here eating some cherries, but yeah, wow. I mean, it was an amazing interview. My level of respect, went up as well because the way he talked to me was bridging the gap, and he was direct, but he did it in such a respectful way. Like, you can't help but to appreciate that, considering, there's a lot of different personalities, in the conscious community. So good to have an elder, a true pioneer, come through and really show us how it's done. So I really appreciate that. I love what he said about militancy and the fact that it's not about violence, A lot of people try to be funny.
Right.
And they're like, oh, y'all going to go storm the Capitol. Y'all going to go, things like that. We're talking on a basic level about the ability to protect what we create, the ability to protect what we build, and the ability to protect our families and ourselves. That's it. We're not going out looking for a fight. Okay? The fight has been brought to us already. It's just that we haven't stepped up in order to fight back. And so there's a very high level of fear within the Black community because we've been taught so long that we are just bottom of the barrel, that we don't have a hope to even overcome this white man. And because of that, when the topic of liberation and true freedom comes up, a lot of people immediately they laugh or they write it off, and we don't even, it's really sad to me that we don't even contemplate it. Like, forget even doing it. We're not even contemplating it. Like, we don't even want to think about having true liberation. Like, people just like, that is so outer space, they don't even want to, deal with that. And I think that says a lot about how much we're brainwashed, and we don't even know it. And, so many people talk about this economic system, but you have to have more than that. How will you protect economy? How will you protect your group economics? What are you going to do to protect it? Because historically, right, that the white man has always came to destroy it. So what are you going to do to defend it? You just going to do it and just sit back, and you think the very same people who are dogging you now are going to protect you? They're going to protect your
bulletproof sneaker. Right.
Okay? And I'm not downing. I'm not downing getting money at all. We're not about that. We're not downing, starting your companies and that's wonderful. That's beautiful. But we have to understand that's only one component. There are many others. I had proposed the idea, and I think the brother from Topeka kind of spoke on it. He went in. I appreciate that, brother, because as I've been saying, we're going to have to start with very small groups of people. The condition that we're in now, there will be no mass liberation for Black people. We have to start very small and developing our own communities, and within that, developing an ability to protect them. So having militias. I talked before about these white boys out here. I live in the Midwest. So you're talking about all these corn-fed white boys, okay, who go out, they train on how to shoot, they do what they got to do, they go get their license, whatever, and all that. And these people are putting together bunkers stocked with food and resources. They are out training, okay? These people are doing this for a reason, right? If something goes down, they feel like they're going to have something to at least fight back with. We're not even doing that.
That's right.
Like, this is how defeated we are. These people are creating militias, okay, throughout this country, different groups. We won't even do that. We're that scared. We'll turn the gun on another Black person. But that white man, oh, no. We can't mess with that white man. I mean, when will we come out of this mindset? And the thing about it, I think a lot of people don't get is we are already dying. Do y'all realize that? Like, we're already dying. Like, it's already genocide on our people. It just depends on which way you're going to go, right? So it's coming from, we know, the chemical attacks on our community, environmental racism, out the yin-yang. I mean, they pushing that heavy, and we're not even realizing it. Okay? They sitting up here, the school-to-prison pipeline, right? The drugging of Black boys that Dr. Umar talks about, right? We have all of these different things. We know about police brutality. We know about mass incarceration, and that's something I don't understand. Why are we not more angry about these issues? Like, we're that passive? It's like when we talk, some people are so like, oh, my gosh, what? Oh, what did you say? What do you mean? If you look at the collective, see, that's what we do on In the Black Radio. We look at the collective of the community, right? So what is going on across the board? What is consistent within our community from state to state, city to city? And if we look at it like that, what do we see? We see very high unemployment, double that of the white community. Again, we see mass incarceration, right? Again, we see tons of abortion clinics being pushed in poor black communities, right? We see all the environmental waste and things that are put in the inner city communities. We see redlining, right? So that way they can give less money to the schools for these areas, right? They'll come and do less things on fixing the streets and public works for these areas where they can concentrate black people and they concentrate law enforcement there. Like, be honest, are we that self-absorbed in our own lives, feeling we're comfortable? We have our, whatever inch flat screen. We got, you know what I'm saying, whatever new tablet or whatever it is. We got that, you know what I'm saying? We got this new car, new shoes or whatever it is. Like, we're that self-absorbed. And all of this bull, right, this materialistic bull that will mean nothing. Because guess what? If your house burned down, then what? Where's your tablet? Where's your Jordans at? Where's all of that stuff at? If your house burned down, where's it at? So why are we being so, subdued by materialistic things that really give us nothing back and can be taken in the blink of an eye? And then when something happens, we're looking for other black people to help us out. Then it want to be about a brother-sister situation when we're in need. But any other time, we think things are cool, we doing our thing, we don't care. That's how it gets you. That's one of the ways they get you, is to get you into materialistic things. Because they know innately, I feel, we like to look good. Black people like to look good. We like to stunt. We like to have the latest whatever. We love that. That's us. So they appeal to that. They appeal to that nature in us. And then we feed right into it. We gotta get out of that mindset. Another thing they do, if they keep you struggling on the other end of things, you have a materialistic side, right, of people who made it, and then some people who didn't, quote unquote, make it. But then you have the other side, poverty conditions. And if they can keep you struggling, they can keep you from focusing on what they're doing. Because now you're just worried about making it to your paycheck, living paycheck to paycheck, waiting to get to the next week, to the next Friday, right? So you can pay these bills and still be flat broke. And so in the midst of doing all of that, you're not thinking about chemtrails. You're not thinking about fluoride and contaminated water with heavy metals in it being pushed in predominantly black communities. You're not thinking about that. That's too heavy. You got real life, so to speak, going on. So we have to find a way to bridge the gap for all of those things so that we can get a level of consciousness of our people. And, it's just really sad to see how things are. And I want to say this, too, about the Black Family Unit. Mm-hmm. We talk a lot about, we have, I think, an 80% unwed black mother rate, which, by the way, you have to be able to dictate what they say. So when we say unwed black mother, that doesn't mean that the father is not in the home. That doesn't mean that the father is not in the life. That just means that they are unwed, okay? So don't always get caught up in that. And the numbers also show that black women tend to get married later, meaning after they have children, they get married, but they get married after or later. Okay, so we have to look at that. But the Eurocentric mindset is one that focuses inward to to keep the focus from outward, meaning that white people will tell you in this system with their psychology and all of that, oh, it's about your mother and father, right? It's about blaming your father wasn't there, whatever the case was, your mama was out in the street or whatever, right? But they do that to keep us from focusing on the impact that the system has on the family, y'all. So we got to understand that, too. I know people say we got to deal with our communities, but we need to also understand these people are running the game on us, too. And that with so many of the issues we have, they all connect to what? White supremacy.
That's right.
There is no way we can coexist in a healthy form under white supremacy. We cannot. That has been shown. Why are things seeming to get worse? And I'm going to be quiet, but the last thing I'm going to say is, like my favorite, Dr. Amos Wilson says, life is not guaranteed. Like, there's no guarantee that black people are supposed to be here. Like, that doesn't mean that we'll always be here. Like, there's no universal law that states that. We can be taken out, and it has happened before. Look up the Tasmanians, who were black people, richly melanated people. They were taken out, y'all. And we have this idea, like, that as time goes on, things are supposed to get better. That's not true. Things are supposed to progress. Not true. We're not progressing. If we look at our economic situation, it's at a 25-year low. It's at record lows right now. Now, how is it that it's getting lower, right? Aren't we supposed to be doing better with time? We got to understand there are new niggas now. They have the new niggas. And like the brother said earlier, these people don't need us. The elephant in the room, the pink elephant in the room nobody wants to deal with, is that these white folks don't need us anymore. Understand that our purpose here was only for their benefit, and that has never changed. There was never an intention for black people to be American citizens and partake in all of this, right? That was not the intention ever. And even though they tell you some things and they made, the 13th and 14th Amendment, that really means nothing because they still operate in this very same way, that we are second-class citizens, in fact. So we need to understand this beast will take us out. It is taking us out. There is no guarantee we will continue. There are new niggas. So what are we going to do now? Stop being with the self-absorbed about your own whatever you got going on, because that can be taken away in the blink of an eye. So we need to be clear about a goal, about a focus, and about having some love and respect for each other.
No doubt. Appreciate that, Sister Renee. That's real talk. Yeah. I mean, whew. I'm gonna sleep good tonight. I'll tell you that. That was a heck of a show, but I appreciate the doctor one more time. You know what I mean? And I ain't gonna put too much more on it. You pretty much put the nail in the coffin, cleaned it up, kicked away the chairs over. What I'm gonna do real quick. I know we have a couple callers here, so I don't want to be on here all night, family. I mean, brothers gotta go to work tomorrow. Sister gotta go to work. We usually come in at 9 o'clock, so I mean it's 10:37 on the east. So I'll bring a couple callers in real quick to make it real brief. Give you a comment. You know what I mean? If you have a question for us, we're gonna get out of here in about 5 to 10 minutes. But let me bring in the Renee. Did we get 37 already? You remember?
860 is the next one.
Okay, I got you. All right, bet. 860-212. 860-212. You're live on In the Black Radio, the realest show on radio. Peace. Microphone's open.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey, Brother E.
What's up, Ezekiel?
Yeah, I did want to ask 2 questions to the man, but oh well.
And happy belated birthday.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say this. And a good thing brought the point what Amos said. And one thing I find with these Caucasoids, if it's not for their interest, they throw things away. With us, we find ourselves as black people. Yeah, they're going to get rid of a whole bunch of us, but in that process, they want to keep just a few just for the same workload. Because in their mind, just like any organism or parasite, they have to feed on their host. So with one thing they feed enough, they got to feed on that. They got to keep doing this until their existence is no longer here. So, you know, what Phil Valentine has said, and, you know, what you said, Renee, I mean, it's the same ongoing war. You know, I mean, it's only at the end of the day, are people going to make the decision where they want to stand against this war, either what they call invisible or in front of their face. And the funny thing with people, our people, when you mention anything in regards to what these other race of people doing to them, they're going to look at us as weird, foreign, and all that stuff, because this is something that they're comfortable. You know, when you're comfortable, you know, and not take when things are really pushed on you, either stress or anything, you're not gonna think on these things because you feel that this is nothing, and it's like, you know, the old Lord's gonna protect us and all this shit. And it's, you know, nothing is secure anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Either we're gonna sit there and then work collectively and handle our problems head on, or whatever they want to deal with, or it's gonna keep getting down the drain, worse as thing. And the worst thing about it, the beast convinced most of people that it's going to get better. And they keep saying it over again. Even people that's been saying it over, it's good. No, it does not. The only way it gets better is when we make a decision, we're going to make this better. We don't leave nothing to nobody's hands. Until we grow up out of that mindset, then you're going to see a revolution, a true revolution. Something that's going to start from the beginning all the way around. All right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate that, Brother E. That's real rap, brother. That's real rap. You've been putting some fire lately here, brother. Keep it up. Let me go to the 415-504, 415-504. You're live on In the Black Radio. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Esther, and I'm calling from Las Vegas. I'm just enjoying listening in. Peace. I really don't have any questions or anything. I'm just enjoying the show.
Sister. I would appreciate you, sister. Definitely.
Thank you.
You know. Thank you. And one more caller, family, to be out of here. You know, we usually don't get done till 1 a.m., man, but it's an early night. Damn, that's what's up. I might have to revisit this 8 o'clock thing. But anyway, let me go to the 410-428. 410-428. You're live on In the Black Radio. What's your name and where you calling from? 410-428. Your microphone is open. If you're talking, your phone is on mute. Okay. All right. Bet. All right. Cool. All right. We appreciate you. Make sure you go to the archives and follow us. Okay. So anyway, family, man, it's been a dynamic program. Yeah, man. This is like, this gives us momentum going forward for some of the projects that we have. I mean, it's more than a radio show. It's really a movement. Y'all gonna see. Y'all gonna see the stuff we have in store for y'all. You know, man. And we standing on the shoulders of our revolutionary elders.
You have one more comment.
Doctor. You say what?